It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the North Florida head cheerleading coach, Coach Nikki Mills. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching and cheerleading?
So I grew up in cheerleading. I grew up in all-star cheerleading down in Tampa, Florida. I was kind of discovered, I guess you could say, on the sidelines of my brother's Pee Wee football by one of the pioneers really in all-star cheerleading, Gary Jimenez. And I started cheering at Tampa Bay All-Stars. And as soon as I did that, I just fell in love with everything that was competitive cheerleading, and all star cheerleading was still not relatively new at that time, but was definitely not the major industry that it is now. And then ultimately ended up growing and switching gyms and ended up at Brandon All Stars, which is kind of a huge mega name in the all star cheerleading world now. And I had the privilege of being coached by amazing mentors that loved cheerleading so much themselves and held cheerleading to this extremely high standard. That it just made you kind of want to be really great at what you were doing. And I commend all of that to, Jocelyn Harrod and Peter Lezen and even Corey Everett, who coached me for a long time. Um, and so it was those mentors who were also NCA staff, which led me to that kind of next dream that I knew that I always wanted to be involved in cheerleading. And if you had asked me 20 years ago what I would be doing, I would tell you the dream was slightly different. It was I wanted to own an all-star gym. I wanted to do exactly what those amazing coaches that I looked up to so much were doing. And I wanted to make a business of it. And I wanted to just merge all of that into this really happy, successful career. And ultimately, once I graduated and I started doing NCA staff, which is from the instructional standpoint, I knew I wanted to coach. I absolutely knew that it was something that I enjoyed doing. I was always good at cheerleading, greater at some parts of cheerleading than others, and I loved being able to teach that to other people. And NCA really is what taught me that. And it taught me to appreciate not just working with really talented teams, but it taught me the appreciation of teaching cheerleading and teaching skills and watching, these girls and guys accomplish something in a few days at cheerleading camp. And then, through cheering collegiately and merging NCA, my dream shifted from all-star cheerleading coaching to, traditional game day school cheerleading. And that's kind of ultimately what led me to the dream of college coaching.
What was that experience like going to the Florida Gators and getting to cheer for them and get to represent them?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think everybody dreams of wearing the letters across your chest of a university that you love. Growing up, I didn't actually grow up with a whole lot of college tradition. So when it came time to make my collegiate decision, like I said, I was 100% spearheading cheerleading. I was pursuing the competitive dream. And I think anybody who pursues collegiate cheerleading knows the big names out there, and it's the Louisvilles. And at the time, being an all-girl cheerleader myself, due to my build, I'm 5'8", 155 pounds. Um, Maryland was a heavy hitter back then. So I applied to 3 schools. And one was the University of Florida, because if I was staying in state, by that time, what I had determined was that there was one school in the state of Florida for me, and it was the best school, and it was University of Florida. But I was going to take my shot at cheering, for those powerhouse schools. And like I said, at that time, University of Maryland and Louisville all girl were battling head to head in the D1A all girl division. And went out to Louisville and kind of had my first aha moment. Most things had come pretty easy for me. I was, big fish, small pond on most of the teams that I had cheered on. Leadership came easy, skills came easy. I always kind of held my spot pretty easy. And went out to Louisville. And like I said, I'm 5'8". And I had based my entire life and, walked into the gym, I remember, for kind of their like pre-tryout clinic, and walked into a girl and she was like, hey, what position do you perform? And I said, I'm a base. And she looked at me and she's like, there's no way, you're 6 inches taller than everybody. And so, you kind of do what you got to do. And, I didn't have the greatest tryout. There weren't a whole lot of back spot positions open that year. Spent a couple days in Louisville, and, all decisions made, Louisville wasn't the school for me. But coincidentally, while I was out in Louisville, I had gotten a call from Jarnell Bonds, who was at that time the head coach of the Maryland all-girl team, the competitive squad. And she had offered me a place on that team. And then I had this decision to make. I was accepted into the University of Florida. I was about to graduate valedictorian of my high school. At that time, it was very unheard of for Florida kids to be leaving our state because our state tuition is so great. And again, we have a top ranked university right in our backyard, and all the other heavy hitters from, the Power Five that, are also in our state. And I'm just this little first generation college girl, and I'm thinking, I'm going cheerleading. I'm going to chase that national championship. But when kind of all the cards fell, and I weighed out all of my options, Florida was the choice for me. It was right academically. They still had cheerleading. They had Saturday in the South. And they always say hindsight is 2020, because Maryland all girl would go on to win, college nationals my freshman year. And I had to, have that really hard conversation with, like I said, all those mentors that helped me prepare for my college tryouts. And they're like, that could have been you. But I look back on my time at Florida, and I was there during glory years of national championship football and basketball, and every sport was doing great. Gymnastics was amazing. There was no better place to be than the University of Florida. And I met my husband there. And, now I have that tradition, like I said, that I didn't grow up with. My kids love to go and walk around campus, and they love to do the Gator Chomp. And, I think it's something that speaks for itself. While I don't have a college nationals ring to promote my time, I got to wear letters that I was really proud of. And then that led me to cheering during my master's at USF. And that was a great time. Then I'd kind of been there, done that. I got to experience something different. Again, met some of the best friends I ever could. And then it rooted me even deeper into that NCAA connection, because at the time that I joined NCAA staff, there were so many big, NCAA names that came from that Tampa area and that had cheered at USF. And Peter had once coached at USF. And, it kind of rooted me into that family even more. So, again, it's just such a small percentage of people get to have an experience like that, and for me to kind of do it twice um, was just absolutely amazing to be able to wear uniforms that you're proud of.
As a college cheerleader, what was that experience like getting to cheer in those championship games for the men's team and for the football team when Tim Tebow took them to the national championship?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I mean, you just really can't imagine a better time for sports. I mean, it's just you're you're living the dream. It's the confetti, it's the excitement, it's the I always laughed at one of kind of the common shirts that you always found in the bookstore. Um, and I bought it my freshman year, was we're not snobs, we're just better than you, with a gator head on it. And um that's what it felt like. I mean, and it's still, we've had a lot of tough, athletic years following that. Um, but like they say, it's great to be a Florida Gator. I mean, I think it's just rooted so much in tradition, um, that you just love it.
Of course, after collegiately, what was that experience like becoming an instructor for the NCA?
Yeah, so technically, I am still active with NCA. So I've been active since 2007. Um, it is such an incredible experience. It's such an incredible company. Um, we call it shining the shield. Like I said, there's no professional cheerleading. So in a sense, outside of coaching, to draw a paycheck for doing cheerleading, I mean, it's just what else can you do? I mean, I comically, always tell, my mom or my husband, where I'm like, hey, remember when you guys said that, like cheerleading will never take us anywhere? Or um, you know, like I said, again, there's no professional avenue for cheerleading. So to be able to wake up and put a uniform on again that you're proud to wear, and go get paid to hang out with like-minded people, and teach cheerleading. Now, don't get me wrong, it's exhausting and it is long days. But NCA opened up so many doors. It's a huge conversation starter on a resume, for job experiences outside of cheerleading. I'm actually a doctor of physical therapy, and in every interview, cheerleading always comes up, and you can relate life experiences and hard patient scenarios, hard cheerleading scenarios. I mean, they just really kind of go hand in hand. So it's really been a dream for the opportunity to continue to be an NCA instructor. And like I said, I've gone to Japan, and have instructed over there, because of the opportunities that NCA presented. I've driven to Mississippi to work. I've been to Connecticut. I've been to all these places that, um, you know, cheerleading has taken me, and it's really great to be a part of something so big.
What was that experience like for you getting to go cheer and get to coach in Japan?
Yeah, Japan was amazing. It actually was my second time going to Japan. My first experience was very eye-opening. My now husband was in the Navy, and he was stationed over in Japan. Um, so I went as a young girl on her 9 days off of college cheerleading before nationals that we got for our Christmas break. But going over there and instructing now, the organization that they technically pair with is with the American schools in the military system over there. So it's not completely culturally integrated, where the kind of the assumption, if you kind of hear it right off the bat, we were like, oh, you went to Japan to teach cheerleading. We were teaching English speaking athletes, and things like that. But to go out there and to experience the culture and to experience these kids that are moved overseas with their families and trying to just continue a sport that they love so much, and then to be gifted really the opportunity to go and work with them was just incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And I feel like my little first trip to Japan really set me up to really enjoy the experience the second time. Because I feel like anytime you travel internationally for the first time, you're just kind of so taken aback by all the differences that it's hard to absorb everything. So I think the slight familiarity that I kind of had with Japan really allowed me to embrace the experience more the second time around.
How was that experience like for you coming to North Florida and first becoming a Spirit program director?
Well, it was technically all accidental. Like I said, I after finishing my cheerleading career as an athlete at USF during my graduate work, I was headed to UNF for my doctorate program. And again, like any athlete who really struggles with the day that it all ends, I was not ready to be done with cheerleading. Cheerleading is so much embedded in who I am as a person that I was going to find any opportunity to remain involved in it. And like I said, I was still staffing with NCA, but it's a summer gig. It's a way to kind of keep your toes in it. And that's kind of what we laugh about. All of us old staffers, is that, we're just holding on to just enough of the dream still, by maintaining our involvement in NCA staff. But so I had decided to continue my education at UNF. And, I did what anybody else does. I got onto the website and I was like, does UNF have a cheerleading team? I didn't know much about it. I knew that they didn't have football, but obviously still having basketball and other sports, I imagined that, there might be a cheerleading program. And I ended up finding the information. I think I want to say I emailed the athletic director, and the athletic director got me in touch with who the head coach was at the time, the great Carrie Driscoll. And she agreed to meet with me. Essentially, I just kind of laid it out on the island. I'm like, hey, this is my cheerleading experience. I've cheered my whole life. I just came off of cheering. I'm not done. Do you need any help at all? And she was willing to take a meeting with me, um, and sweet enough really to offer me the assistant coaching position my very first year. And she is the head, and current still now, she's the wife of the head basketball coach. So I think she was at that time in her life also looking for an opportunity to play a more supportive role, in that avenue. And I came in at the perfect time to kind of help her alleviate some of the time commitment ultimately, and mental commitment that it took to kind of run the program. So like I said, it really kind of was accidental, perfect timing. And I'm thankful for Carrie Driscoll to give me the chance.
What was that feeling like when you became the next head coach and get to run the program?
Yeah, so it was kind of a quick turnaround. Like I said, I came on initially as the assistant coach. And Carrie was great. She was absolutely great. I am, in any of my athletes or my friends, or definitely my husband, everybody will tell you, I'm an aggressive type A personality. I don't sit back seat well. I have opinions, and I sometimes, kind of lead with how I want things done. So Carrie was incredible. Carrie was very open to changes, and she wanted to build the program and grow it also. But the condition in which we we kind of had in that first year team when I got there. You know, skill level was fairly low. Participation and interest was fairly low. And as I think any coach knows, with changing a culture and creating new goals and a new vision for a program, there's attrition and there's pushback and there's disagreement. But like I said, Carrie was really, really receptive to what I wanted to do with the program. So ultimately, we kind of had the conversation where maybe we should switch roles, where I would take over the head coaching position and she would come to the assisting side, but we would still tackle the team as a duo. And that was a great jump year for us. That was a great year of building for us. And that was the first year that we were able to take the team back to NCAA college nationals. And ultimately what started the momentum of what UNF cheerleading has become today.
Of course, can you talk about the culture that you've started to build for the UNF cheerleading program?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I hope I am building a culture that is enticing to athletes. I am building a culture based on high standards, self accountability, and self assurance, really. You know, we are in the state of Florida. The state of Florida is great for cheerleading. We have so many amazing high school programs and so many amazing college programs, that there's a lot of competition. And again, you know, UNF doesn't have football. So from a recruiting standpoint, you know, we don't have Saturdays in the South to sell. We are a smaller school, a smaller Division I program, still relatively young in that Division I arena. And again, you know, just growing as a university. So, you know, UNF was not previously known for cheerleading. I think UNF kind of, you know, we fall in the avenue of, if you choose to stay in Jacksonville because you're local and you happen to cheer, you might try out. Or, you know, another school didn't work out and you end up at UNF and you want to give cheerleading a try, you tried out. I'm happy to say that, you know, almost every girl and guy that is on our program today chose UNF for cheerleading. So they sought us out, which is an incredible feeling. Again, I hope to impart on my athletes that we're a program that's not afraid of a challenge. You know, whether, you know, we've got the competition or the ability to recruit, you know, top tier athletes. You know, I've kind of, I guess you can say, found it my niche to take the underdogs, to take the kids that probably wouldn't, you know, would have gone to most of the other tryouts in the States and unfortunately, you know, been overlooked because somebody has more tumbling or somebody, you know, has kind of grown up in that college's, you know, clinic circuit or things like that. And we drill technique, and you know what we do really well. And I always used to say, you know, the first go around at UNF is, you know, we're not just UNF, because that kind of became like a little scapegoat. That kind of became like an attitude like, oh, well, we're just UNF. You know, when something wouldn't go our way, it was like, well, you know, we're just UNF. And so I really made it kind of my mission to like, not just UNF. Like, we are so much more. We are not just UNF. And, you know, just kind of trying to, you know, coach more than cheerleading and teach these athletes that you're not a victim of circumstance. If you put the work in, anything can happen. But at the end of the day, there's one person, and, you know, one person only, that's responsible for the outcome of a situation, and it's you. So again, you know, building that culture of, do you want to work? Do you want to, trust the process? Do you want to build something great, and do you want to have ownership in it? Because again, we are such a young program that really every member in these past, couple of seasons, or handful of seasons, might I say, is a bricklayer. I mean, they're building the house that one day, if you build it, they'll come. So I think it's a really huge thing to be able to have some ownership in that.
What does a typical game day look like for for cheerleaders for basketball games?
Sure. So we've had some ebbs and flows with game days. We've had some changeovers in student government policy, and we've had some changeover in presidencies. But our student body is really excited. They're rowdy when they want to be. So our school does have, they've just recently brought it back. So we're hoping that kind of brings the excitement back into our games. But they've brought back tailgating onto campus. Our arena is large in the sense of our other ASUN counterparts. But it's not so big that there's no fan interaction. So if you're a student, or even if you're a fan, like you're down there in the trenches with us. It's a really intimate environment. What we call it best seat in the house. I mean, you can't get any closer to the action. we're right on the paint. Usually the refs are giving us the, like, hey, you're within inches, you got to back it up. But so it kind of that's kind of what makes UNF so special. Is it is such a small community in the sense of what you imagine for a lot of D1 programs, that intimacy really provides a really special connection during game days. So for us, we use game days as a huge opportunity to show our fan base that we do more than just kind of shake our pom-poms and dance and things like that. So our marketing department's really great at giving us time during half times to do performances and stuff like that, so that we can push skills that otherwise wouldn't be seen on the sideline due to the rules in cheerleading as to what you can do at a basketball game, what you can do at a volleyball game, which is the other sport that we cheer, because we're not on a grassy sideline for football. So game days, like I said, it's another thing. UNF is a young community when it comes to athletics. And that's something that, I kind of took on when I came, that I wanted to be a part of creating traditions that didn't exist. So I revamped our fight song when I first got there. Staying very consistent in our sideline chants, working with our band director and things like that, and just trying to get that student body to really catch on and be a part of what we're trying to create on the sideline. So we also participate in our week of welcome on campus, to try to teach those traditions to our students, as well as different fan-based community events that our marketing department sets up throughout the athletic season.
As a head coach, what is it like getting to coach the cheerleading team, but also getting to coach the dance program too?
So I actually don't coach our dance program. So we don't have an athletically sponsored dance program. I do believe there is a dance program within the rec or intramural sports division. So when I first took over head coach at UNF, there used to be a dance program. There was a coach and everything. But it kind of was the conversation. And while, if you come from the dance community, it probably is not the most positive outcome for dance. But it, for us with limited financial support for cheerleading, again, we're a small market Division I school. All the sports needed building. The decision from the administration was, all right, well, we won't try to split to have these two programs, especially where at the time we didn't really have enough interest to outfit an entire dance program anyways. It was kind of, let's put all of our eggs in one basket. Like I said, administration was really really great with, hey, cheerleading, college cheerleading is your specialty, not so much ours. Follow the rules, stay within budget, and you kind of have free reign. So we focused on building cheerleading. So I'm extremely grateful for that opportunity to allow us to build the cheerleading program. But some would say that it was at the expense of cutting our dance program. But again, like I said, you know, I am a firm believer, if we cannot put a truly collegiate product out there in front of our fan base, it's kind of not ready. And we were unable to do that with dance. So my particular focus is just with cheerleading.
During your time as a cheerleading coach, what have been some of the things that you've been able to accomplish?
Well, so I actually have a little disconjointed time with UNF. Like I mentioned earlier, my husband is in the United States Navy, so sometimes that keeps us in an area for a good amount of time, and then other times the reality is that we have a commitment to his job, and it has moved us. So it was not my choice the last time that I left UNF. So actually, after our 2017 season, I moved away to Pensacola. It was devastating. It was earth-shattering, kind of rocked my world, rocked the athletes' world. We were on an upward trajectory, and sometimes I have a lot of guilt with that. I kind of imagine, where would the program be had I not created kind of that halt in our in our trajectory, or in our progress towards becoming what we would ultimately desire to be. But everything happens for a reason. I ultimately returned to the program in 2021, I believe. 122 yep, 2021. So I wasn't at UNF during the major COVID shutdowns or anything like that, and we all know kind of what happened during those years anyways. I mean, just everything shut down. So what I have been able to do is, like I said, I've been able to generate good interest in our program to where we're getting some really solid quality athletes. We've been able to consistently compete with the top tier of our division. We compete small co-ed Division I at NCAA Nationals. And, I've yet to break top three. I think that fourth place is kind of that wall that I keep hitting, and our program is talented, and they deserve to be up there at the top. But I think as good as a job as cheerleading does at awarding those who truly are the best, I think there is still some subjectivity in our sport, as much as we'd like to maybe agree or disagree with that. And I think, that getting there that first time is the hardest thing to do. And I think once we can finally break into that conversation where, UNF is considered in that, like, hey, look, they did this, we're truly put side by side with our peers, but our name's already been in the conversation. I think this program will see a lot more success. Yeah, I mean, we are a top 5 nationally ranked program consistently year after year, which I don't want to take away from any of the athletes. I mean, it's a huge accomplishment to get to nationals alone, and to go out there and to be able to have a consistent top ranked performance. But I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't want more. I want to win. I want to be a national champion coach. I think my athletes deserve to be national champions with the amount of work that they put in. But we've yet to be perfect on the floor. And with those imperfections, the fact that we don't have a huge reputation to back us up and carry us that little way, we've fallen just a little bit short kind of at the end mark, these past couple of seasons.
As a head coach, what is it like getting to see those freshmen put on that UNF cheerleading jersey for the first time versus your seniors putting it on for the last time?
Wow. I think when you issue uniforms, it's that kind of first surreal experience. I like to start my seasons off kind of with a mini media day. We have a fantastic photographer, Mariah McNutt, who with Humble and Grace Photography, who just captures everything that it is to be, a University of North Florida cheerleader. We head out to the beach, we get, that beautiful background, and our veterans kind of get to choose what uniform we put on first. And of course, it's always the fan favorite of the year, and to see those freshmen kind of get to put it on, especially, it's so close to tryouts where it still doesn't feel real yet. So many of them came into tryouts not knowing whether or not they'd make the team. Again, like I said, our athletes, don't always have all of the skill set that you would expect maybe in a competitive collegiate cheerleader when they first come in. And, so I think they know how much hard work is ahead of them. I think they kind of feel the pressure of the shoes that they're filling of those that have graduated, because it's hard not to talk about, those seniors that have recently left a program. But you can see that they're so proud to wear it. And it's such an outward representation of something they've accomplished and something that they now get to be a part of forever. But I think it's also just a taste of what's to come. And, we kind of trickle out the uniform. So you get one, and you got to earn that second one, and you got to earn the next one. And it's kind of the buildup of getting all your uniforms. Seniors taking their uniforms off. I'll tell you, this past senior class, I was especially attached to. They were such a special group of kids. And it was heartbreaking, almost heartbreaking, to see them take that uniform off for the last time. But you're so proud of them. You're so proud of a kid who can call themselves a 4-year athlete. It's even in today's, it's just so rare to see somebody stick out a commitment when things get tough, and to remember the whys of, the little girl or little boy who fell in love with cheerleading, but now has to make, adult decisions. You have to maintain a GPA, you have to go to class, you have to decide your major, you have to work. And then on top of that, you have to come in and bring your best every single day to get better at these skills. Cause we're clawing, behind the teams that, have a slight advantage on us. And, you get injured, and it's hard to be a senior and remember what it was like to be a freshman who hasn't bought in yet. So, you're trying to impart all that wisdom on them and say, hey guys, trust the process, give into yourselves now, like get rid of the egos and just, come be a part of something that's great. And the sooner you do it, you'll start reaping the benefits. But, hindsight is 2020, and everybody kind of has to learn on their own. But again, like I said, that our last year's graduating senior class, like they just embodied everything that I would hope, when somebody thinks about UNF. It was just the grit, the grind, excellence in the classroom. Our seniors are graduating and doing, great things in their chosen career fields, or they're choosing to move on to graduate school, but mostly they're still proud to represent our letters. Like they would kill to put on a uniform one last time and hop on the mat with the teammates that they left behind, the underclassmen, or to impart their wisdom on the new freshmen. And I always like to think that a sign of a good program is the fact that your alumni want to come back. And like I said, UNF has traditionally been a very small program. But we have some alum that have just, jumped through hoops to continue to support our program. And without that long-standing tradition, it's so important to see, that group that, is still close-knit friends, and then wants to come back on homecoming and is screaming and shouting, and they're there just to see our performance. And they're proud of the skill set, and they're constantly communicating with me and letting us know, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing that skill at this point in the season, or oh my goodness, I can't believe that's how solid your performance was this early in the season. And they're so excited for the talent that is coming in. And again, it's just, and what it means to our younger kids to have those alum want to come back, during those tough practices. They come back during our work week and remind them like, hey, I survived it. You're going to love it. You're going to be better for it. And come back to those, performances, or, especially the ones that are local to Jacksonville. I can shoot them a text message or call any one of them and say, hey, we're performing. I need a couple spots on the floor. Like, can you come to the game tonight? Support the team. They're a little nervous about pushing the skill XYZ. And it's no questions asked. And I would hope that some of that is attributed to the relationship that I'm able to create with athletes that I coach. But even if it's just that their love for UNF cheerleading and the time that they spent, I'm really happy that it's hard to take that uniform off for the last time.
What are some of your future plans for the program moving forward?
I want a national championship. That's what I want. I want this program to grow. I want, I want our university to be really proud of the program, and us kind of not be a second thought when it comes to the needs of the program, and things like that. I think cheerleading is still relatively young in the collegiate world, where if you're not at a university with a long-standing championship history, not all administrations understand what it takes to be successful, or how much time and physical load that there is on those athletes to not only be a cheerleader, but to be ambassadors to the university, or to be on the sideline for their multiple sports. And that's one of the things that's a little bit difficult at UNF. We have one program of 25 kids. So that one group of 25 kids is my team that cheers for volleyball. They're my team that cheers for men's and women's basketball. And they're my team that goes and competes. So there's a lot of overlap, and I'm, no way I know there's hundreds of universities that do the same thing, but we don't have the luxury of having 40 kids to where if we want to go and split the load for some of our athletes, that we can give, we can kind of swap when they're doing stuff and things like that. So I would love to be at a point to kind of grow that a little bit, just to maybe explore having multiple competitive teams. But that's not my primary goal. I'm happy with the focus of our small co-ed program. I'm good with that focus. But again, what I would like to see is, I would like to see us continue to grow in our competitive endeavors. I would like to be a household name, not only in the state of Florida when athletes are choosing their career or their collegiate path, but to be an out of state, name. And I think the age of social media obviously helps that. Anybody can hop on Instagram and, find programs. And I think, recruiting and combines that are now becoming more popular in the cheerleading arena are very helpful for that. So, again, I just hope to continue to grow our name, continue to grow our standard, and to be able to put out a high level of cheerleading that's respected in the industry.
What advice would you give those future college cheerleaders out there that are looking to compete in collegiate cheerleading?
Accountability. What I see as a coach is a lot of kids that will start communication. They'll reach out about requirements and things like that, and they want to do it, but they wait too long to put in the work. You kind of all these quotes about discipline and things like that, where kind of the highest form of self-love is discipline. Discipline is not doing things you want to right now because you have aspirations for bigger things in the future. And I think a little bit of this generation is kind of YOLO and thinks that there's enough time for everything, but there isn't. And somebody ultimately is going to beat you out on your spot because you didn't take the time to work on individual things that you could have done to make yourself more competitive. I also believe in doing your research. I answer multiple emails a day with questions that are blatantly stated on our team website, information that is easily accessible. Or I'll have parents that reach out to me rather than the athlete. I guess I'm maybe a little old school. I want to talk to the athlete. Your mama and your daddy aren't the ones cheering here. Now, if they want to have a conversation about whether or not our university is a good fit for their athlete, I'm open to it. It's a huge decision. Our athletes are only going to be successful if they enjoy the university, even outside of cheerleading, because that's what they need when times get tough, when it's almost Thanksgiving and nobody's been home for the semester yet. And, they have to choose a coaching style that is, going to assist them in being successful and things like that. But again, go to clinics, meet the coach, meet the team, see the culture. I like to think that we are what you see is what you get. If you've come to one of our clinics, I'm direct. I don't sugarcoat things. I want excellent technique. And I'll teach it to you. And I have, I like to believe I'm patient with it, and I'm very understanding that not every young athlete has, the capabilities or the access to, elite skill instruction. Or there's 100 different techniques out there. And if you've been going to other clinics, we might do things a little bit differently. So again, go to clinics, talk to the coach, reach out, watch your social media. I think these kids forget that they friend request us, or they follow the cheerleading Instagram, but I'm the one who runs our cheerleading Instagram, so I don't necessarily want to see all the pictures that come up on my news feed sometimes, because you followed me with your personal account. High school coaches, I think these kids need to have conversations with their high school coaches and their all-star coaches and let them know truly what their dreams are. Because senior year is too late. My mentors and my coaches did an amazing job making sure that I was ready I had coaches that technically weren't even my coaches, that were friends of a friend and that I just knew kind of casually, like Leighton Clark, who's down there coaching with his wife, Sandy, at USF, running an incredible program. You know, he helped me put together my collegiate cheerleading submission for University of Maryland, without ever having coaching me a day in my life. And he, like I said, he was a friend, of my coaches, and he had great experience having cheered at University of Kentucky and USF himself. And he knew the process, and it was something that I did not know on my own. And my coaches really kind of set me up with those resources. And I feel like, you know, not all of our coaches are helping our athletes out. And again, it's a two-way street. Our athletes need to be going to their coaches and saying, look, I need help. I have dreams, I have aspirations, and I don't know how to get started. I don't know where to get started, but this is what I want to do. But you know, I think in the state of Florida, and obviously competitively across, you know, other states, you know, we have these non-tumbling divisions. Well, that doesn't exist in college. All colleges are tumbling schools, and you know, I don't have the option to not tumble. My score sheet says, do I hit majority tumbling or do I not hit majority tumbling? So you know, we have kids that either do have tumbling but don't practice it consistently enough because they happen to compete on a non-tumble team, or they don't have tumbling and they could definitely get the tumbling, but they wait until it's, you know, kind of too late. And we all know how tumbling works. You know, it's not something that happens overnight. You know, so I see that kind of be a career ender for a lot of really talented athletes that, you know, they might be great stunters and they might have great leadership and all of that. But they're just kind of taking themselves out of the running, before they even have a chance over something that, you know, simply could have been accomplished had we done proper research, to prepare for what our goals are.
What advice would you give those future head coaches out there that are looking to run their own cheerleading program?
Be true to yourself. There's a ton of opportunities out there. And sometimes I think that unqualified people gain access to them because, let's face it, cheerleading coaching doesn't come with a big paycheck, or it's not typically something that you're going to uproot your life for, because most of us have real jobs outside of, I say real jobs, have higher paying full-time jobs, outside of coaching. I think cheerleading is every day evolving. So you have to do your work to continue to make sure that, you know, you're qualified and you're prepared to continue to push those skill sets, with your athletes and stay competitive within, you know, your division, and what's new, what's legal, what's, you know, what's been taken away from our sport due to safety concerns. And how are you going to help cheerleading as a whole? Are you going to, you know, practice safe cheerleading and ensure that, or take every precaution so that your athletes don't get injured, so that you're not a part of the conversation as to why cheerleading is too dangerous and why we shouldn't be doing XYZ skills, you know, and things like that. I think a lot of that comes from, you know, people trying to take competitive edges without making sure that safety is the number one, you know, priority, and it's taught well, and there's patience, and your athletes are, properly progressed to these elite skills. Cheerleading is perfectly safe. Is it dangerous? Sure, it can be dangerous. I would describe it more as unforgiving. I think everybody has a job in cheerleading. We're not dropping balls. We'd be dropping athletes if we don't do our job. So from a coaching perspective, again, making sure that you're prepared to safely teach cheerleading and to produce these skills, you know, so that our sport can continue to grow. Embody the coach that you made you fall in love with your sport. You know, I try to take things that I loved about how I was coached growing up, because again, it spoke to me so directly that here I am still loving every day that I get to be a part of cheerleading. And then the hard part of coaching, which is taking direct feedback. I'm a work in progress. Like I said, I'm an aggressive type A personality that's always not the most received. Um, but trying to convey to these athletes um, that you're there, you care about what happens to them after cheerleading. You care about being a part of them achieving their goals within cheerleading. Um, and that at the end of the day, you want it just as much as they do, and you're going to give every bit of yourself to help them reach those goals. I'm constantly thinking about cheerleading. I can't leave cheerleading practice without thinking about how I can get my team ready to do what I know that we're capable of. Um, and again, just really kind of taking the feedback from year to year to see what could I have done better. I do exit interviews at the end of my season. I try to create an environment to where the athletes truly feel that they can um, you know, be honest with what was great about our season, what could have better prepared us, what they thought we did well as a whole, what they thought held us back. I try to be really insightful throughout the season. A lot of team feedback, especially anonymous. Write it down on paper. What's holding us back from our goals right now? We have lemon squeezes. I learned that from Jocelyn, an old sorority trick. Get it all out there, and so that we can, when frustrations and all of that are high, let's say it rather than it fester, or rather than saying it behind somebody's back, because again, most of the time it's just perception is reality. Somebody was taken, or perceived the wrong way, or something that they said off the cuff, or we know that sometimes we have highly emotional people on the team, or sometimes we have really relaxed people on the team, and highly emotional people can be considered rude and direct, and relaxed people can be seen as complicit and not caring and things like that. So I think just really developing healthy communication from a coaching perspective and from a team perspective. My athletes will tell you, I beg them to talk. I want to know it all. I want to know, what's going on outside of cheerleading. I want to know what's going on in your stunt group. I want you to talk during your skills so that everybody knows what's going on, whether it's a count, whether it's a foot that's in the wrong place, whether it's a shoulder that needs some support. I think just communication is key. And again, like I said, the college coaching jobs are out there. If you can present yourself as experienced and with a skill set ready to learn and ready to provide what that university is looking to achieve with their cheerleading program, I don't necessarily think that there is the same ladder to climb that there might be in other sports, or things like that. I think you can come from having just graduated cheerleading, yourself, and find your way into coaching. I think it just depends on the person, really. And I'm a firm believer in NCA, UCA staff. I think it prepares you to work in the industry of cheerleading. But just make sure you know what your goals are. Make sure you know the type of coach you want to be, and understand that everything can change with your athletes. Every athlete is just so different.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media, along with the North Florida cheerleading program at?
Yeah. So we can be found at UNF cheerleading. And then I actually don't have a personal Instagram. I'm not really a photo taker or anything like that. But if you do reach out to our team Instagram, I'm the person behind it. So you're talking straight to the boss. So any question you ask, you're going to get the information directly from me.
Thank you again, Coach Nikki Mills, for your interview, and best luck in your future with North Florida's cheerleading program.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for giving cheerleading a platform.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Nikki, Mills, for your interview. Best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.